was small and it fit in my pocket. I kept it on me at all times. One afternoon, my little brother and a friend, both later would become fierce combat soldiers in their own right, were eating chili dogs at Art's. Frank, my brother's companion, left his chili dog wrapper on the outdoor table and it blew to the ground. Eric, who had been hired by Art as not just a cook but a watchdog, was a hothead already and needed little provoking to act like a complete fool. He told my brother to pick up the paper. When my brother explained that it was not his paper, Eric became angry and collared my brother and ripped his shirt. Angry and confused, my little brother went home and got my mother, older brother, and sister. I was out on the 10-speed patrolling the hood with, of course, my 44. Ironically, I was sitting on the corner of Florence and Normandy Avenue across from Arts when I saw my mother's car with everyone in it pull to a stop at the light. Here I was waiting for some action and it pulled up right in front of me. Fate, I guess. My older brother signaled for me, so I followed them across the street to Arts. No one knew I was strapped. As I rode up, my older brother was standing there arguing with Eric. Then my brother hit Eric in the face and they began to fight. I immediately dismounted and rushed up on Eric's flank to get a hit in, but he was swift and struck me in the ear, knocking me back. All the while, my mother was frantically shouting for us to stop the fighting. Mad now and insulted, I drew my weapon, aimed, and pulled the trigger. Click. Damn, I remember thinking, I only got 3 bullets, and I didn't know where in the cylinder they were. The click stopped everything, and then everybody seemed to move at once. Eric ran toward the chili stand, my brother rushed to me. Before I could aim and fire, my brother and I were wrestling over the gun. Give me the gun, I'll shoot him, my brother exclaimed. No, let me shoot him, I shouted back. In our battle for control, the gun was now pointing at my mother's chest. Click. My mother jumped, and momentarily I was paralyzed with fright. In this instant, I let go of the gun and my brother turned and fired into the chili stand. Boom! The 44 sounded like a cannon. Click, another empty chamber. Eric by now retrieved his shotgun and was on his way out after us. Seeing him coming, both my brother and I turned and ran. We had barely rounded the corner when the report from the shotgun echoed behind us. He chased us through several yards, firing and tearing up people's property. He fired a total of 8 times, but we escaped unscathed, except for our pride. My mother, sister, and little brother also escaped unharmed, though in great fear for us, for they knew not our fate. After meeting back at home, my mother wanted to send us all out to my uncle's house in West Covina. We protested and stayed. The next morning, however, while I'm standing at the bus stop waiting to go to school, Eric pulls up and mad dogs me. What you looking at, punk? He shouts from the car. You motherfucker, I responded, though scared because he may have a gun and I couldn't get mine out the house since after yesterday's episode, my mom was searching me. There were 3 young ladies standing there as well, so my pride and integrity were also involved, not to mention my reputation. I had to stand my ground. Eric leapt from the car, circled the front, walked up, and hit me in the mouth. Bam! I faltered and became indecisive, but in an instant, I knew I needed an equalizer, because he lifted his shirt to reveal the butt of a pistol in his waistband. I turned and bolted. Running at top speed with tears streaming down my face, I made my way back home, went right in, got my gun, and trotted back to the bus stop. I was hoping the bus hadn't come, so that the 3 girls who saw me get hit couldn't watch me kill him. Art's chili dog stand has been on Florence and Normandy since the 40s, and it was still in its original decor, open and primarily wood with big windows facing onto Florence Avenue. The bus stop was across Florence and Normandy. Turning the corner on 71st at a steady trot, I was relieved to find the 3 girls still there, almost as if waiting for me. Passing them, I heard one say, "That boy is crazy." I was taking no chances this time. With 6 rounds ready, I stood in the street in front of Arts on Florence Avenue. Commuter traffic was moderate, so I waited for the light to turn red. Once I saw that I could safely break back across Florence and then to a backyard, I opened fire on Arts. Boom, boom. Loud baritone echoes cracked the morning stillness as chunks of wood and shards of glass flew off of arts with magical quickness. Cordite filled my nostrils and revenge filled my heart. Boom, 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 boom. 6 shots I emptied into the tiny dwelling, hoping to have killed Eric, who had just opened up for business. No such luck. I was captured the next day and given 60 days in juvenile hall, but actually only served 19 due to overcrowding. Once out, my reputation was stronger than ever. Even Eric gave me my props, though grudgingly. The very next week after my release for the shooting, D, myself, and 2 members of the Rolling 60s Crips, later the 60s and my set, the A Trays, will become mortal enemies. We're on our way to Rosecrans skating rink, which was where everybody who was somebody in the gang world went to further promote their name and set. Walking up Manchester Avenue westbound, we passed Pearl's Gym and Best Yet Hair Salon. Still within the established boundaries of my set, we came to a halt at the corner of Manchester and Gramercy Place. Still within the established boundaries of my set, we came to a halt at the corner of Manchester and Gramercy Place, waiting for the light to change so we could trek on to Van Ness, where our bus was to depart. We heard 2 reports from what sounded like a 38. The sound came from the direction of Duke's Hamburger Stand, which stood on the southwest corner of Gramercy Place off of Manchester Avenue. Duke's had recently become contested territory, as the Inglewood family bloods had begun to frequent it regularly in hopes of establishing it as theirs. Gangs tend to function as states in regard to taking or colonizing territory. We looked toward the sound and we saw Fly and Track breaking out of Duke's, running right at us across the street. Track had what appeared to be a big, long-barreled .38 revolver in his left hand. Without stopping, Track exclaimed, "Y'all bail, we just busted on some families." They kept running right on past us. We hadn't done nothing, so we kept on our way. Not a minute later, a white Camaro screeched out of Duke's parking lot. "There they go," we heard an almost hysterical voice yell from the car. A second car, a huge orange Chrysler, came out of the parking lot, bearing down on the bumper of the Camaro, which was now heading directly for us. We scattered. D and I darted into an adjacent alley behind Best Yet, and I don't know where Stone and Snoopy went. The chase was on. Hopping a fence in the alley, D and I hid ourselves in the dense shrubbery behind Pearl's Gym. The Camaro and the Chrysler roared up and down the alley several times as we lay in wait. The thoughts that ran through my head were hopes that the blood who had been shot would die. It's significant that there were no Crip-on-Crip wars raging in these times. The worst enemies were Crip and Blood sets. Today, of course, Crips are the #1 killer of Crips. In fact, Crips have killed more Crips in the last 12 years than the Bloods have killed in the entire 22-year conflict. And 2, sets in the Crip and Blood communities have increased 20-fold, so that there is literally a gang on every street. Also, there are huge conglomerate sets spanning hundreds of city blocks at a time, extending themselves into other cities and counties. It's not at all unusual for one of these huge conglomerate sets to be policed by 5 separate divisions of both LAPD and the Sheriff's Department. The East Coast Crips are one such set, spanning from 1st Street in downtown Los Angeles to 225th Street in Harbor City. After an hour or so, we emerged from hiding and walked east in search of Snoopy and Stone. "Man, them fools was mad, huh?" D spoke up. "If they would have caught us, Kody, we'd have been through." D was very serious when I finally looked at him. "Why you didn't bring that gat?" Gat is a generic term for gun, anyway. "Because of the metal detector at Rosecrans. Ever since the families blew the door off, they've been really tight on security. Besides, all homies be there anyway." We found Snoopy and Stone standing on Western Avenue in Manchester. Well aware that the families were now out in mass looking for revenge, we devised a new strategy for getting to the skating rink. Just then, the orange Chrysler hit the corner of 85th Street, packed with occupants from the red side. We had 2 choices. Run into the street and try to make it across Western and further into the interior of our hood and possible safety, or run into the surplus store behind us and hope they wouldn't follow in view of such a big civilian crowd. We quickly chose the second option. D broke first, with myself, Snoopy, and Stone heavy on his heels. Looking back, I immediately realized that we had made a terrible decision, for the Bloods were bailing out of the huge Chrysler like beans from a bag and chasing us straight up into the store. I remember taking one last look after I had jumped the turnstile, and I knew then that we were trapped. The surplus kept a huge green trash can by the door that was full of axe handles of heavy oak. Each Blood grabbed one as he entered. Alarmed and not knowing if this was a gang raid on his store, the manager locked the door once the last Blood had come in. I knew we'd be beaten to death. Snoopy and Stone went one way and D and I went another. I followed D up some stairs that led to an attic supply room and further entrapment. 4 Bloods followed us up, swearing to kill us for shooting their homeboy. One guy was shouting about the victim being his brother. Damn, how in the hell had we gotten into this? Running up into the small attic area, I thought seriously about death for the first time in my life, and for the slightest second, I wanted to turn and tell the Bloods, hey, alright, I quit. I'm only 13, can we talk? Diplomacy was as foreign as Chinese to us all, but it's a trip that when under pressure, clear thoughts seem to abound. Stopping and crouching, temporarily having lost my tail among the rows and aisles of stocked clothing, I heard Dre trying to explain that it wasn't us, that they had made a mistake. Hold it, man, it wasn't us, I heard D say in a cracking tone of sincerity and terror. You a motherfucking lie. We saw you, Blood. Crack. Ah, crack. Alright, man, alright. Crack. Ah. Terrified, I crouched lower and closed my eyes, hoping they wouldn't kill. You guys like those sound effects? Terrified, I crouched lower and closed my eyes, hoping they wouldn't kill D, who was now on the ground and silent. But the beating continued. I felt completely helpless. Here go another one. Crack. Ah. Across the top of my head, the heavy axe handle came down. Swoosh. A miss. In an instant, I was on my feet. Crack. One to the back as I tried to get past another in the semi-darkness. Wait. Fuck that shit, fool. You didn't wait when you shot Mike. Crack. Ah. Blackness. When I came to, I was on my stomach, handcuffed. Next to me was D. Both of us were bloody and swollen. Craning my neck to the left, I saw Snoopy and Stone. They too looked whipped and soiled. Which one of you did the shooting? A police officer asked from somewhere behind me. Him, the one in the blue overalls and sweat jacket. That was me. What? I managed to say through fog and loose teeth.